Hairpin lace fabrics look very complicated, but the dirty little secret is hairpin lace strips are really, really easy to do. Let me show you how to do it. What you need is a crochet hook and a hairpin lace loom. Now I love the Jenkins hairpin lace loom. I think it's the most adjustable hairpin lace loom on the market. And what you'll notice, loom and frame, interchangeable terminology. So if I say hairpin lace loom or hairpin lace frame, I'm talking about the same thing. If you check out this hairpin lace frame, you can see all kinds of holes. This particular, the Jenkins hairpin lace frame, adjusts all the way from 1/2 inch all the way to 6 inches. So you can have really, really narrow strips and make jewelry, or really, really wide strips and do tassels or any other kind of thing that you can imagine. Fringe, any other kind of thing that you can imagine. Here I've put my prongs, I've set them at about 2.5 inches, something like that. What you need then next to make a hairpin lace strip is some yarn. Now I'm going to take this yarn here and I'm just going to make a slip knot. And I'm going to slip it on one of the prongs. And then I'm going to take the bottom of the frame and I will just put it so that the prongs of the frame are being held completely parallel. Oh, this had been tightened. Let me get this going here. Yikes! I can't figure out how to do this. It won't be as hard for you at home. Here you go. See? Not hard. And then tighten up the bottom of the frame. And now I'm ready to go. Now, how do you make a hairpin lace strip? So easy. Let me show you how. First thing you want to do is you want to orient your loom so that your working yarn is on the left prong. Then what you do is you take your working yarn and you bring it over from the front to the back so that your working yarn is now laying in the back, and your slip knot, tighten it up so that that knot is roughly in the center of your prongs. And this is how you get started. You'll use your left hand. This is how I keep tension, to keep tension and hold the frame. I'll use my left hand. I go around the working yarn and hold the frame. And I take my right hand and I hold my hook. So this is what I do, and I'm going to get in here, zoom in here so that you can completely see it. Now I'm going to take the very first stitch of a hairpin lace strip is different than any other stitch you're going to make. Here's the tail. Do not get confused between the tail and your working yarn. So I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to insert it from the bottom to the top through the loop that's on my left prong, okay, for the very first stitch. I'm going to yarn over with that working yarn and pull up a loop through that loop that's on the prong, so that now what I have is I have my crochet hook at the front of my loom with one loop on it. And then I'm going to yarn over and chain one. You can chain one, yarn over, chain one. That is your very first stitch of a hairpin lace strip. That stitch is different from any other stitch you're going to make to do the strip. So now I'm going to teach you how to make the basic hairpin lace stitch. But before I do, I'm going to teach you how to turn the loom. Now, turning the loom confounds people and you may need a bit of practice, but it really isn't that hard. I'm going to kind of slow-mo it for you. I found that this way of teaching folks, although you may not choose to do this as the way you make hairpin lace strips in the future, if you learn this way, you can kind of adapt it to your own style. So check this out. Right now I'm in a situation where I have the crochet hook at the front of my work. I've got my left hand on the back, okay? My left hand is holding my yarn. First thing I'm going to do, and the loom. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take the crochet hook and think of the hands of a clock. I'm just going to rotate it so that my crochet hook still is on the front of the loom, but it's upside down, and I'm going to rotate it upside down. Okay? My crochet hook is not in the back, it's in the front. All right, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take that right hand that was holding the hook, okay? I'm going to take it to the back. All right, don't do anything like this or like this. It'll be completely in the back of the work. And right now the left hand is pinching that crochet hook so it doesn't fall on the floor. Right hand in the back. I'm going to take the handle of that hook and I'm going to flip it upright. Right hand is in the back of the loom. I'm going to flip this upright so that now my hook is upright in the back of the loom. And I'm going to take that hook with my right hand, hold the loom and the hook, and then my left hand, I'm going to let go of the loom, but I'm still keeping tension on the working yarn. Now, I'm going to flip the loom with my right hand. If you have normal human anatomy, there is only one way you are able to flip this loom. You can't flip it this way. It's physiologically impossible. You can only do it this way. I'm going to flip the loom, okay? And now, magically, I've got a situation. I've got my crochet hook. It's upright on the front of my loom, okay? And I have my left hand in the back of my loom, and now I'm ready to get started again. Now, I am always going to work the topmost loop on the left prong. So I'll always be working this side. I'm going to tighten this up just a little bit here. And now, check this out. I'm going to go in from the bottom to the top. And let me zoom in on that. Bottom to the top. The most common mistake I see when people starting out is they go top to the bottom. Don't do this. No. Bottom to the top, yarn over, pull up a loop so that you have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through both these loops. And that is the stitch that you are going to do again and again and again. So check this out. I'm not going to be flipping the loom in slow-mo this time. I'm going to do it in quick-mo, in normal speed. So I'm just going to flip the loom, and I'm not holding it. Usually I balance the bottom of the loom on my tummy, but I can't do that and film it at the same time so that you can see it. So now, bottom to the top, through the topmost. I've got 2 loops on this prong right now. Bottom to the top, yarn over, pull up a loop. You're essentially single crocheting through that top loop that's on the prong. And I'm just going to keep doing this. Yikes, again and again. And it's the same thing. So how could this be complicated? You are doing the same thing again and again. It's a very meditative technique. You can be watching TV, chatting with friends. You don't have to think, you don't have to do anything. It's the joining that really has more of the complexity or more of the design in hairpin lace. For most of the designs you see in hairpin lace, strips are created just like I'm showing you here. This is the standard way to create a strip. Is it the only way to create a strip? No. There are some fascinating ways that you can create strips, but for most intents and purposes, when you purchase a pattern, for example, any of our patterns at StitchDiva.com, you purchase a hairpin lace pattern, it tells you to make a strip, it tells you to set the loom at a particular width by measuring at the top, the holes at the top. It'll tell you to create a strip of a particular gauge. Check out the tutorials on our website, StitchDiva.com/tutorials about how to measure gauge of your hairpin lace strip. So a pattern will go into that. And then a pattern is going to tell you, after creating however many strips of however many loops And a key thing to think about is loops you measure on both sides. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 loops on one side, so I probably got about 12. 12 loops total on this strip. So a pattern will tell you create a strip of this width, of this gauge, and of this length, and length is expressed in number of loops. And after it tells you to create all those strips, it'll give you instructions of what you can do with those strips. And you can do a number of really amazing things with hairpin lace strips. Your imagination is the limit. One other thing to mention about working hairpin lace projects is that you really need to use guidelines. Again, check out the tutorials on our website for guidelines. It will save you hours of heartache. I learned about guidelines the hard way. So use guidelines in your project until you become a hairpin lace pro and no longer have the need to use guidelines. Lastly, check out our website. We've got great tools for hairpin lace. We've got a book on hairpin lace designs, fantastic patterns. I hope that you can learn to love this technique as much as I do. This is Jennifer Hansen for Stitch Diva Studios. Thanks for watching.